And my husband sat down with me and he's like, okay, you have something here. Educating them through products, through schools, through television, through multimedia about one another and creating inter-community change.
What we're seeing here is a result of the daily micro commitments that you have made for yourself.
Tony Robbins says we have to be able to get to a place where we can blame elegantly. Blame for the bad, but also blame for the good.
Not put on this earth for any reason but to do something. And don't listen to that negative, because that negative is not going to create success for you.
When you've got a purpose and you're driven by that purpose, a strong why, it's easy to put ourselves on the back burner.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Happy and Human podcast. I'm your co-host, Dr. Seema Bhasin, and I'm here with my other co-host, Dinesh Malwani. Hello, Dinesh.
Hey, Seema. How are you today?
I'm really, really good. I'm so excited to be here. As always, we have fun.
We do have fun. We do have fun at the Happy and Human podcast, the podcast for overeducated, ambitious South Asians, where we uplift, amplify, and highlight South Asian movers and shakers.
Movers and shakers, that's, I think, a really good way to describe our guest that we have today. So my really good friend, Dr. Zabina Bhasin, is on the show with us today. Dr. Z, are you there?
Hi, Dinesh.
Hey.
I'm so glad that you could make some time to hang out with us today and have a really fun and impactful conversation because, quite frankly, movers and shakers, that's you, I think. You're, from the time I've known you, super ambitious, super driven, definitely does not know how to sit still and making waves in the best way possible. So welcome to the Happy and Human podcast.
I truly appreciate that. Thank you so much for having me. I really do. I don't know about movers and shakers. I'm just trying to do the work that I'm trying to do.
For those of you who don't follow Dr. Z, I'm going to give you a little bit of space to tell our listeners exactly, who is Dr. Z? What does she do? What is she so excited, moving, and shaking about? Tell us.
So my name is Dr. Zabina Bhasin. I am a child and adolescent psychiatrist that is also a founder of a company known as In KidZ. In KidZ is a ed tech multimedia CPG product company, which is like a toy. CPG means consumer product company that we make toys for children to learn about multicultural lines and mesh learning, which is social emotional learning. We launched our company in 2020. I do not practice medicine anymore. I am not working in the healthcare industry, which everyone always asks me. I'm full-fledged involved in creating change through play for our next generation. And that is our younger generation. So children between the ages of 3 to 11 years old, really giving them a aspect of how do we create inter-community change? How do we learn about one another's communities and cultures and really talk about our feelings? I think we tend to forget that emotional well-being is not just for adults, it's also for our kids. And our kids mimic what we do. And so if we don't talk about our feelings, which I always say it's cool to talk about your feelings, we forget that. So that's what In KidZ does. Inclusive Kids really has come about because of the times we are in. And Dr. Z came from that as the founder to empower the youth voices and really create change by empowering not only our children, but also effectively giving the right tools and resources to our caretakers so we can create a future with our children rather than for our children. That's what I do.
Such a beautiful mission. And you also, amongst all of that, there's a huge activism streak within you too, right? Like you have been, again, this is the second time you were at CGI, Clinton Global Initiative, and all these other amazing places, really advocating for change in kind of just the most amazing way possible. You've been very outspoken about the importance of bullying and mitigating that in our youth and doing that through understanding our differences. So much going on for you. And Dinesh, mover and shaker, right?
If you looked up mover and shaker in a dictionary, you definitely would find a picture of Dr. Z there. So, Dr. Z, we're so glad you can join us. We know what you're doing today, but maybe take us back. Take us back as far as you think would make sense. You're in med school, right? You're going through med school. You were a basketball player. Take us to the point where In KidZ came about, and help us understand the genesis and the origination story of that.
So I, like a lot of med school doctors who, start families late in life, I had my children late in life. And I was building a cancer center in Tarzana, California. And I had my daughter at that time through that process. And I was working in healthcare administration for quite many years. And so when Amara was born, I was still producing and creating the healthcare, in the healthcare industry, cancer centers and running hospitals. And in that time, Amara turned 10 months old. This is my older daughter. And I got pregnant with my son. Not planning it, but it happens, and all of a sudden the cancer center project completed, and it was really a choice: do I stay or do I have these two children under two? And I could take some time for my children, because I wanted to do that. So I decided to stay at home, which, when you're a working mom and you've been working literally since you were 19 years old, it's not an easy transition. You're like, what do I do now? So I wanted to take the time, and then, I wanted to really raise them and figure out life and see what I wanted to do. And it's probably to go back to healthcare. We said, okay, they'll go to preschool, and then I'll get back into healthcare and figure out, what my next role is in healthcare. And I started getting involved in their schools, and Amara turned about 2.5, 3 years old, and she started a school. And I was, part of the PTA and all the great things moms get involved in. And then one day she comes up to me and she says, why do kids keep asking me where I'm from? And I'm like, what? Wait, what do you repeat that again? Because that doesn't even make sense to me. That at your age group, children actually have these conversations. And then the question came up again when she was 4. And I was like, okay, we need to figure out where this is coming from. And so she told me about the child. And again, you can't blame a child because he's not educated. You can't blame a teacher because he probably doesn't have the things. But you also can't blame their caretakers because they don't have it. They don't have the things. We tend to, as communities, grow up in silos, which a lot of us did, even in the South Asian community. It's let's make sure we are Desi. Let's make sure we are Punjabi. Let's make sure we are Gujarati. We don't understand how to create inter-community change. Nobody teaches us that, right? Nobody wants to educate anybody on somebody else's community. Don't know that either.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, Mara, let's go to your teacher. Let's find out what they're doing. And let's go learn about all the kids in your class. Because that's the only thing I could do, right? Tell her to go tell another boy or girl or anybody about where she's from and what she looked at herself as American. She's a second generation American, and she didn't know much about South Asia or anything else. And she was like, I'm American. 4 or 5-year-olds, they confuse also religion and ethnicity and heritage and culture. They don't even understand that. So how do I explain her that? So I had to really sit down and explain her what is heritage. She still didn't get it. So I said, let's go learn about your friends. Let's go learn about your Japanese friend. Let's go learn about your Persian friend. Let's go learn about their cultures, their languages. I wanted to take religion out of it because religion doesn't have anything to do with ethnicity and heritage, right? That has nothing to do. Religion is very different. As you know, in South Asia, in Punjab, there are all these religions that stand there, but we're all Punjabis. Nobody looks at us as Christian Punjabi, Muslim Punjabi, Sikh Punjabi, Hindu Punjabi. We're all Punjabis. And we all look at each other as like, if you know the Punjabi culture, you're Punjabi. That is all it is, So even if the Sindhi culture, I had some of my greatest friends who believe in Guru Nanak Dev Ji, but like they were still Sindhi. It's very different on the cultural side. Religious is different. So I took that step and I said, okay, we're going to do this. And I brought it to the classroom. And then the teacher was like, where did you get this from? And I'm like, I don't know. I made it at home. I was creating these like little boxes and items for them to do. And then I had friends ask me about it. And then my husband sat down with me and he's like, okay, you have something here. Like there's something here, There's something here that somebody's going to want, because what you're trying to do is create inter-community change. You don't want to create a Diwali kit for the South Asians. They know what Diwali is. You want to create a Diwali kit so a non-South Asian person could bring it into their home and celebrate it.
So you, and I want to make sure I understood. You went through the roster of the school, like your daughter's class,
Classroom, yeah.
her classroom, and then say there's a Japanese child there. You figured out there's a Japanese child, and then prepared a Japanese box to give to the teacher to educate everyone about Japan.
No, I did it for myself.
Oh, okay.
I
You did it for
took it
yourself.
to her to say, hey, could you get me in touch with the parent? Because here's one of the things In KidZ does. We don't create products without ambassadors. How do I teach my child about the Japanese culture when I have no clue about the Japanese culture, right? I can only Google so much, but I have to interpret it into a childlike form. So what I did was I wanted to know what the crafts were, what the games are, what are the different things we could bring that Japanese kids do. So who's the best person to do it? Somebody who's been raised in that culture, somebody who's been from that country, somebody who understands the traditions. That's how you create product lines. You don't create it by Googling. You create committees of ambassadors who can actually help you create authenticity to the product. That's how you create it. So then I asked the speaker, like, can you help me? And they're like, yeah, we do these cultural things at school and this and that. And so we started getting the parents to come in, and then I just started learning more. And then I created it more intensely for my household, or for my, whatever we were doing. And then the teachers liked the idea, and then I kind of thought about it, and I said, okay. So they were like, how much did this cost? And I was like, I have no clue. Med school never teaches you how to be an entrepreneur. Yeah. And we are the worst people at finance. I have no idea how much things cost. Let me just let you know. Yeah. So I have this wonderful CPA husband who was like, oh my God, you're going to lose so much money doing this. He probably said that every day since the last 3 years, just so y'all know that. I still haven't learned my lessons on multiples of things.
That's funny.
I think that's neuropsychology in general hard. I don't think you just learn how to do that. So we took that thought process and that idea, and he said, take something to launch what you want to do. And that was when we came out with the Bond Bands, which was our first product line. And, well, okay, I'm going to take a step back. Before I launched In KidZ, I created the volley baskets for fun, just so you know. I created the volley baskets, and I sold them on social media, and I had a multitude of people who wanted them, all the way from New York to Florida to everywhere. And I lost so much money on that Rakesh was like, you're never doing this.
What were the Bali baskets?
Diwali, right. So
I thought you said Bali baskets. I was that sounds good.
Yeah, baskets full of basketballs and baseballs. And
hey, I want to do that, actually.
There's a bobblehead of Shah Rukh Khan in it, right?
Right. So basically what I did was I reached out to a bunch of South Asian entrepreneurs who had different multiple product lines. I kind of ordered it on wholesale and created these baskets. So everybody could buy their products at one space. Because I didn't really know anything about manufacturing or supply chain or any of this stuff, right? Yeah. And so I did that. And then through that process, Rakesh was like, okay, we have something here. You're doing this in the schools. You're doing this at home. There's something here that we have to kind of put together. And that's when we launched the Bond Bands, which was based off of Raksha Bandhan. And we created a modern version of it to teach children from the specialty that I understood, which is bullying and trauma. Really removing the buddy bench, but really taking the space of what is a bond band. It's really the thread, the three, pieces of we have unity, protection, and belonging. And we really created that piece for them for understanding not only the cultural aspect of Raksha Bandhan, but modernizing it. So then we created these bond band kits, which was like 2 bond bands. And then I started creating these small kits from that. Yeah. Then I figured out we needed more. And it was one thing after another. And really realizing when the George Floyd issue happened, and my sister-in-law, who's Black, came to me and said, Z, we need to teach these kids more about American Black history, history, not Black culture, but American Black history. And we created the American Black History Kit, which was our 1.0 kit. And that's when we knew we actually had something on a basis, because people were just like, flooding to the subscription because we got on Good Morning America. We talked about the product line. And it was kind of a slow transition. Like, this launched in March of 2020. I think
Hmm.
we really had a website in June of 2020.
Oh, wow.
And then it was in 2021 in February when we had like probably 3 or 4 kids
Yeah.
that we actually saw the transition of the company from like, okay, we're on social media now, we have a website, and now we're subscription based.
Hmm.
And we saw for about a year a really good subscription based company. And then I got into the Target Forward Founders Program in June of 2021.
Mm.
And then we saw the drop of the subscription because COVID kind of dropped down where parents were like, oh, we've overdone the subscription thing, you know?
Hmm.
So we learned through Target then that we actually have a social impact business.
Mm.
We actually have a mission-based social impact business, but when you create it into a B2B business, that
Hmm.
actually brings the mission up. And
Hmm.
that really was the trajectory change for where In KidZ is today.
Yeah, I'm looking
You
at the
know,
bond bands, and they're absolutely beautiful with the 3 beads in
Yeah.
gold and
yeah.
rose gold.
They
Yeah,
really
they look
are.
great.
So just wait. There's big things coming with the bond band soon in the next year. So I'm really excited about it. Some really great licensing deals and really
Oh,
good
amazing.
things.
Where did that voice come from? The voice where you felt empowered to take responsibility for this, as compared to what you described as your upbringing, where largely in a family of primarily, brothers, you felt like you never had a voice.
I got bullied a lot. I got made fun of a lot. I think what happened was when Amara said that to me, it took me back to my days because I was made fun of for my skin color, being Sikh, my big nose, the food I ate, and really that essence of my mom coming into our school when we were 7 years old.
Hmm.
I was trying to do it for me, but I have Sikh brothers who wore judas, and I think it was more to emphasize for them. And again, I'm not blaming my mom here or there, but I think she had good intentions as an educator to do that for us, right? She wanted to create a comparison of how we are actually more similar than we're different. And she wanted to do that in our first and second grade classrooms. So it took me back to that.
Hmm.
And she did it for a long time within our elementary school. She really put that emphasis in, and I remembered her doing that.
Hmm.
But community teach us about other communities. She taught about our community to others, which is no different, right? But she wanted to make sure we understood that we were all very similar. But she was teaching that to other kids, right?
Hmm.
So I think that voice came from that. Seeing that Amara was being made fun of, not was really traditionally being made fun of, but there was a questioning to it. And I think before it took to a level. So you understand in psychology and psychiatry, the sciences, if you teach a child in early education, early enough as 3 years old, to fifth grade, about anything, they're molded by the time they hit middle school.
Hmm.
So the number one bullying we see in middle school is in the cafeteria because of food.
Hmm.
And so that starts actually before middle school, starts about fourth grade. But if we start teaching them in preschool, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade, by the time they hit fourth, fifth grade, where the mind is now actually being molded to what they already have understood, that's what math is. Math is a manipulation of continuous learning.
Hmm.
Well, why not teach about culture, community, and tradition? Take away the color of our skin, decrease racial discrimination, decrease bullying, decrease mimicking, decrease the memes, decrease all of that making fun of by the time they hit fourth grade. By educating them through products, through schools, through television, through multimedia about one another, and creating inter-community change, creating a place that we actually feel like there's belonging and appreciation. And that was the essence of why I wanted to do this, because the voice hit me from what happened to me.
Yeah. Well, and Z, you also shared, there's a lot of dimensions to this, because there's not just skin color and religion and what, food you have in your lunchbox or your tiffin. As a lot of kids at my kids' school, they bring tiffins straight up.
Yeah.
And, the other thing that my middle schooler shares with me is he goes, Mom, what about the kids that are visually impaired? And, he's like, I sometimes watch their aids or I'm going to butcher it. I don't know what the walking sticks. Kids will deliberately kick them out from underneath them. Or if they have a Down's child that's trying to communicate, some of these children will come and, make fun and mock and things. You yourself have been very vocal about the fact that there was a dyslexia component.
Yeah. So I it's interesting. I say this now out loud because I laugh at myself. read and write properly till I was in seventh grade. I sat down and I've talked to multiple people about this, and they were like, "Could you really do it?" No, I couldn't. I think I was just kind of streaming through school, but we were in public school, right? Nobody was really watching what we were doing. But the hard part for me was that my mother's an educator, and I was taken in as a place of like, you just don't want to study. I had straight A student brothers. I mean, they were super book smart. But I don't think I struggled. And so I was made fun of at home because of that. I was made fun of when my mom used to say to me, "Oh, you don't study and you don't get good grades. That's why people don't like you. That's why you don't have friends." And I think it tears a child apart, when you're told how bad you are, or how horrible you are, or how different you are, or how wrong you are. Now you're traumatizing not only the child, but you're traumatizing their adulthood now. Yeah. Because we're raising adults, guys. These become adults. We're raising adults. So what you do today is going to affect them the rest of their lives.
Absolutely. Yeah. So whatever you experienced shaped you for the good and bad, and you have found a way to take it to empower you to make social change and impact so many lives, right? For everyone that has experienced that and have been able to really utilize it for positive, I have to think there's someone out there who is affected by that trauma into adulthood, right? And they're still carrying that baggage of being made fun of not fitting in, of being compared by their parents, or feeling like the lesser child, right? And if we have some adults right now who are resonating with that and they're listening to that, can you share what it took, or how were you able to transform this into a force for good, as opposed to living out the rest of your life as a victim, thinking that you never could do anything because this was sort of your reality at that time?
A lot of therapy. Yeah. So I do have to go through a lot of therapy, and I'm not laughing about it because therapy is shunned. It's not a normalcy, My nephew right now is going through a lot of bullying and trauma, and my brother didn't believe in psychiatric and psychological therapy. And now he's a big believer because he sees what his son was going through. He regrets what he put me through. He actually has said that. So one was therapy, right? That was my first. I'm going to fix myself to help anyone else. You go out there and do the work we're doing. If you're struggling with your own, you're wrong. I still have my insecurities. I still have my but I have a great advisory team around me. I don't have yes people. I have uplifters who actually challenge me in the work I'm doing. I have venting sessions all the time, but they're like, well, let's think this direction. And I think like this. I'm not perfect in everything I do, but I also do know that I have to make sure if I'm uplifting somebody else, I've worked on me.
It has to be from a healed place. And you've touched this kind of circuitously, or, from different angles, but you've said, I don't hold my mother responsible. And, when it's a child that you hear about at school that's kind of saying things, you don't hold the child responsible. You don't even hold the parents responsible, because really, truly, they just don't know better. Yeah. And I think what I heard because it took me back to some of my own memories when, your mom, said things like she did. You kind of, from a healed place, at least for me, what I'm hearing is there's fear there. There's real fear that her baby girl isn't, accepted, and she wants her to be accepted, right? Like, it's not that she doesn't want her to be. She's not celebrating the fact that you're feeling isolated. It's this helplessness that comes through, and you're like, what? If I could just if I could zero in on what's causing it for her, then she can fix it. Right. And then she won't be isolated, right? So I say that because I want people who are listening and undoubtedly relating back to their own childhood traumas, or, you can fall victim. You can say life is happening to you. But the differentiator between somebody who's going to break through that versus someone who's going to stay stuck in it is the ability to look at the people in their lives who shaped them and recognize that they were doing the best that they could.
Right.
And release them from that responsibility and work on healing themselves. So I just love that you said that in very different ways, but I champion that.
Yeah. Tony Robbins says, we have to be able to get to a place where we can blame elegantly. And that is blame for the bad, but also blame for the good, right? Because a lot of those things that happened or were said to us and all of us in our early formidable years installed or allowed us to express ourselves in a certain way that arguably what people would say is beneficial to us today, right? But I want to go back, Dr. Z, I want to go back to that point. I asked you the question, you said a lot of therapy, right?
Yeah.
In that moment where you decided to take the step to go to therapy, right? You're exploring it, you've made the appointment, it's coming up, it's on Tuesday afternoon, it's Tuesday morning now. A lot of people may think that, well, me having to go to therapy just reinforces what everyone else says, right? It proves the point that I'm different or that I'm not what what they're saying, that I'm not capable or whatever. And they would stop there and say, well, I don't want to take that step and effectively admit that there's something wrong with me or that I'm not what they expect to be. How did you find the courage to take that step and say, regardless of what they think and what this means, I still need to work on myself?
So I had a very severe breakdown in 2022. I had already launched the company. I had already been at a place. I've been in therapy since 2000, when my father died in 1999. I was in med school and I was in India when I was in med school and on and off in therapy for other ultimate reasons. And I had stopped for a little bit. We were in therapy for a little bit because I couldn't conceive children, and there was a lot. But I was really good. Like, I had my kids, I was doing this, it was so exciting. And then I had an ultimate breakdown in 2022. It was a very severe mental breakdown. And those who are close to me know exactly what happened. And there was a huge betrayal in my life. And again, can't blame any of the things that happened, but what it recognized to me was I still wasn't ready for things. And so in that space, when I had that breakdown, constantly I was blaming myself. In my head, right? Exactly what you're saying. I've never succeeded. I've never done good. I've always failed at everything. All those things were constantly going through my head. People who was around me, who loved me, supported me, they're like, this is not your fault. You've done, like, you just have to keep going. You're doing such great work, all these things. And I have to say, when you have certain people in your life who are always looking to uplift you, but are strengths of yours, but won't tell you you're always right, but they'll be like, go fix this, excuse my language, get your shit together. And that was my husband. And you might know a little bit about my husband, but my husband's very gruff. He has no filter with this man. And he sat down with me and he said, you're a mother of two. You're creating an empire. At that time, he would make fun of me, an empire that you want to create. You have amazing people who are backing you up. And he goes, if you don't fix your shit, I am walking out of this house with these kids. I'm not looking back, because there is no time for this anymore. To me was, I need you to do this not for yourself, but for your children, the work you're trying to do, and what impact you want to leave on this world. What work you're doing for therapy is not all about you. It's about also what impression you're leaving out there with your family, your friends. So everybody's going to say something. It doesn't matter whether you're in therapy, you're fixed, you're not fixed. Whoever says what, someone's going to say something.
Yeah.
You know, we have amazing people out there who are change makers and thought leaders. They get said to them all the time in their face. You know, haters are going to be haters.
Yep.
That's just who they are. Jealousy is part of the process. So for me, that place, what you're trying to ask, right, was like, I could have done that again, right? I could have sat in that place and said, woe is me, and this is the last straw.
Yeah.
You know? But if he hadn't sat there, and my husband's no therapist, please never ever think that, because it's like, there's room for the therapist, but
yeah.
he just sat me and he said, get your shit together, because I'm not going to deal with it.
Yeah.
I'm not letting my kids deal with it. And the impact you want to have, the dream you have, is never going to happen.
Yeah.
And he's like, this is just the beginning. You haven't even out to where you think you're going to go. And that was a year and a half. And where I've gone from that year and a half, I don't give a shit what people think. It doesn't matter to me anymore.
So he saw your potential when you couldn't see it.
He'll never admit that. Yeah, I think
we'll get him on the podcast. We'll ask him that question one day.
Yeah.
I got one once, and he said that. He goes, yeah, but don't tell her I said that. Yes, he did. And it's not only him. There is multiple of amazing men. You know, they always say women are you know, the backbone to men's success. I actually have a multitude of men who have been part of my success, and men who are not just South Asian and from my community, but from multiple communities who believe in the work that I'm doing and are like, we need to get you up there.
Yeah.
And create that change. It's funny, we were at the toy fair. There was a really good, another person who was supporting me. He was like, I need to get you outside of behind the desk and in front of the camera constantly. I'm like, no, someone has to fix my company. He's like, nope, we'll figure that out later. You need to. That's the point, is you don't see your own potential when you're deciding not to go to therapy.
Yeah.
Because, you know, but I want everyone to know you don't need a person telling you this. Like, I say I had my husband, right? That little thing in the back of your head that keeps telling you, go, 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 go. Don't listen to the negative. Listen to that positive, because there is a positive there. You were not put on this earth for any reason but to do something. And don't listen to that negative, because that negative is not going to create success for you. That therapist and that work you're going to do for yourself is going to create that success for you.
You know, and it's the go, go, go. It's not, in my experience at least, it doesn't say go, go, go. It says go, go.
Yeah. Go. Right.
Yeah.
But your guards are so, you know, the fear and the all of that leads you to inaction and woe is me is screaming loud.
Yeah.
And so you can't hear it. You can't hear the quiet power that's guiding you towards your next level of success.
It was from you, and it was from Hazel that I learned to quiet my mind. I didn't, like, meditation and realization of like quieting my mind wasn't normal to me. I mean, as a physician, even in general, you don't know how to quiet your mind, you know, because you're just constantly being told to use your mind all the time. And the thing is, it's not just only therapy, it's working on what helps you balance yourself. You know, I have severe anxiety to this day. This is part of my DNA that I have, you know, and I've had to learn to quiet. And I will get on the phone with Rakesh. I mean, everything happening in the world right now has given me severe anxiety because I am generally a child person. That's who I am in depth. I got into medicine for kids. And my husband knows the moment I go on social media or listen to the news, I've been nauseated for 2 days because it's bothering me what's happening in this world. And this is not just now, the global issue we have with what children are going through, whether it's terror, trauma, wars, sexual predators, like across the globe of things that we see with children. I can't stand that. So I learn to quiet my mind, the world I work in racial equity and racial discrimination for children and bullying and trauma. I am constantly seeing things and being dealt with questions. Yeah. And they're heartbreaking. So I learned that from Seema. I have to give her credit for that. I always say, because
Yeah.
I don't know what that meant.
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you mean, sit down and be quiet?
That's great. That's great.
The next line that we're coming out with next year, which is a mental, social, emotional line, is really about children talking about their feelings and quieting and creating a calming space. But that came from me having to learn that.
Right.
Even though I know this as a child and adolescent psychiatrist, you don't know how to teach it until you learn it.
Right. You have to be it, right? Really, to really impart knowledge in a way that will make sense to the student.
Right.
You have to have a level of understanding that is beyond just like, I've done this once or twice. You know, you have to it has to be a part of who you are.
Right.
Yeah.
So
and it's become a routine for me now in my life.
I know you were here last year. Last year, Zabina came. Okay, first of all, she came in to be our speaker for the Pratham Gala last year. And this girl flies in and is just like, we're meeting with Priyanka Singh, we're doing the design, we're going here, we're going there, we're getting her all ready. And in all of this, I was so proud of her because I could see how much she was going and going and going. And we were prepping and we were on the phone with the Pratham, CEO and all of this stuff. And then she's like, okay, well, before I come downstairs in the morning, she had it with her. She had her little gratitude journal and she had her whole, like, it wasn't a lot, but my point is there's a commitment from Dr. Z. I think what we're seeing here is a result of the daily micro commitments that you have made for yourself to be the person that is unlocking for these kids a brighter future.
Yeah.
Learning, just so you know, like one of the habits I have that my husband's really trying to get out is the first thing is 30 minutes into waking up, don't touch your phone. I touch my phone because I listen, I look at my affirmations, I do my meditation, but there's also habit. Like all of a sudden I'll get a notification from one of my team members and I'm like, oh, what happened? And he's like, no, you can't check that. And there was something on social media, like a group or community talking about not to look at your phone for 30 minutes. It's a cycle that we have to kind of change in our lives. And I really want to create that as a new pattern. Like honestly, see, like it's a work in progress, you know?
Of course.
And my daughter said to me, Mom, the next time I'm talking to you and you look at your phone, I'm not going to talk to you anymore. And then don't come asking me any questions that I've already had a conversation. At my phone and having a conversation with her, and she's like, okay, I'm going to pull that on you now.
Yeah.
That's what she does. She's using me as her mimic. Like she's like, all right, Mom, we're going to do this now. I have to change. I have a conversation with my children because that's what they're going to see. But these are habits that we have to change. These are things like, and we're all trying still.
Even going back to, going to therapy and these habits to change, do you think it's possible for people to change from insight and guidance that, listening to this podcast, or do you have to have an experience that, with your daughter, pulling that on you and pointing it out to you that almost makes you change from a place of necessity?
I think it's both. I don't think it's either or.
Okay.
It could be, I think if someone is individually questioning themselves on their own habits or their own things, I think that's a place of therapy. If they think they're having I think we should all go to our physicians initially if there's something happening with us. An internal medicine doctor can devise, okay, you need to see this, or where are we going? Is it physiological? Is it psychological? Is it emotional? All that. I think every human being in this world should talk to someone. I don't care if it's a coach. I don't care if it's a life coach. I don't care if it's a therapist. I don't care. Someone to go to do this, because someone will tell you, okay, I'm listening to you, I get it, but this isn't my scope.
Right.
I think you should, I think everyone needs someone to talk to. It could be a friend. We have so much resources out there now. But is it something that has to happen to you to do that? No.
Yeah.
I think if something has happened to you and we're not dealing with that, yes, you should go. And if it's not anything, we all have problems. If you tell me somebody in this world doesn't have a problem, I'm going to be like, you may be godly.
Right.
We all have some sort of problem, whether it's a problem dealing with a worker or
Right.
an employer or a friend or a child. We have to deal with something. So I think if you feel like you aren't able to handle a situation for yourself, go talk to someone.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. And it's not just for problems, right? It's also for navigating the future, anticipating where you're going to go, looking at your blind spots. I mean, if you think about all the largest corporations of the world, they all have a board of directors, right?
Mhm.
And two minds together are better than one because it allows you to see multiple perspectives.
Right.
And so for a very long time, I have tried to live my life as the CEO of a company, having a board of directors that you can just talk about different perspectives and what's coming down the pike and all of that stuff. So I couldn't agree more with what you're saying, Dr. Z.
Do I feel like our people in general, but in the South Asian community, which is what kind of drives this desire to please and this overachieving sort of tendency, is we also tend not to celebrate. If when we bring home that 100, it's like, yeah, that's what you should get. If when you bring home a 99, where's that 1 point, right? But there's never really a recognition of what is going right, and that also is critically important if we want to move forward.
Yeah. My kids want to celebrate everything, but I think that's my fault. If my husband had his way, he'd be like, we don't get participation trophies. I'm like, yeah, we do. Who cares? Celebrate it. Doesn't matter. Enjoy, like we forget to enjoy life. Rakesh and I talk about this a lot because we work so much. We forget to enjoy life.
Yeah.
I've been going nonstop since 2020. And all of my friends that are like, oh my God, you signed with Sesame Street. I enjoyed it to this day. I even knew what that meant, and getting a licensing deal as a young company like that to do this amount of work for them and where I'm going, I don't think I've even enjoyed that. And you're absolutely right, Seema. We still to this day don't celebrate these little things,
Yeah.
It was my birthday and I came back from Mexico celebrating my mom's birthday and I'm on a conference call and everyone's like, oh my God, it's your birthday. I'm like, yeah, cool. Okay, so let's
We've got work to do.
move on. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have work to do and I'm going to miss out if we don't stop for a minute and enjoy those moments.
I totally agree. You should celebrate, but it shows the impact of purpose, right? When you've got a purpose and you're driven by that purpose, a strong why, it's easy to put ourselves on the back burner. It's easy to put ourselves second.
Right. It is. And you're right. The purpose is so important for me. I mean, the day to day today, I was just having conversations in the last week or so about the work that I'm trying to do to make a change for the next generation isn't just driven for financial gain, isn't just driven for, name recognition. It's real change because I will be damned if I leave my kids in a world like this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And if I say that I've done this, that it's just this little bit and they're going to follow through, because I can't make all the change, right? There's multiples of us doing that, but it has to be followed through generation after generation after generation.
Yeah.
And that for me, showing what my father did as a activist himself, and me recognizing that at my age now, that work he left as a legacy, I'm actually doing now.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know I was doing that
Yeah.
till the last few months. And now seeing my children, my daughter coming yesterday to talk about what's happening in the world, and then recognizing this isn't right, and her making signs to say, stop war, ignite peace.
Yeah.
Literally last night, and making these signs and saying, I'm going to go put it up everywhere. I was like, you took what I just said to you and explained to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't tell her to go do that. She did that.
Yeah. You're seeing the change right in front of your eyes. And
seeing the change. Yeah.
Yeah. And the ripple effect is just going to be enormous given the time that we have.
Right. Yeah. And I have to say, caretakers and parents and grandparents and teachers forget the impact they have on these young children. Mm-hmm. And if we don't do it correctly,
yeah,
and empower them with their own voices, they're smarter than we ever were. I have heard 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds say things to me that blow my mind away, and I'm not even communicating with them yet. And I'm just like, yes, let's do this.
I love it.
And we tend to forget.
Yeah.
They're being molded right now, and we have to empower them with compassion and communication and confidence to create a world of collaboration, not to create a world of silos.
Hmm.
That's what's happened all of our lives and the lives before us. And when, the British Empire was taken, that is what has been done.
Yeah.
Globally, people of color are the majority.
Hmm.
We are the minority as Caucasians in this world. But in this country, in 2025 and onwards, you will see biracial communities becoming a majority, or people of color becoming. And I don't want Caucasian people to feel like they're minorities. I want us all to feel like we're a majority, because that's what we should be teaching our children. There is no separation based off the color of our skin. There's only community collaboration.
Hmm.
So we, as the Gen Zs, I'm not Gen Z, but the Gen Zs, the millennials, I don't even know what I am anymore, but this generation of 18 to 45-year-olds that are, either going to become parents or are parents, have that opportunity to make a change with the Generation Alpha and the Generation Beta about to come in. What does Generation Alpha mean? Alpha, start over. Let's do it. Let's do it now, because I can't do it alone. And I know there's multitudes of people trying. So let's create a space where we empower these youth and show them things. Because no child deserves to have any trauma in their lives, and create that. We're raising adults, people. We need to listen to our children.
Yeah.
Your passion is absolutely amazing. I can feel it over here. I think the hair on the back of my neck is standing up.
Yeah.
Hats off to you. I have to applaud you. Your passion is amazing, and I'm empowered. I want to ask, what can we do as parents and as leaders in our communities or wherever we are? We don't even have to be leaders. What are some things that we can do to educate and empower these kids in their formative years while they're being molded?
So one, let's watch what we say at home. Let's start there. Okay.
Give us an example. What are some things that we should avoid?
Yeah.
So the making fun of and the jokes and the memes that we do as parents, our kids are listening.
Yeah.
And they're going to repeat it. Okay. So what we hear on the news, what we see out there, we talk about it as adults. And those 5-year-olds are listening, guys. They know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
More than that important, spend that 20 minutes with your kids. Time to get off your phone, get off their phones, watch what they're doing, see what they're acting. We are busy parents. I get that. Caretakers, teachers, we're all busy. Remove the devices, sit with your children for 20 minutes, ask those prominent questions, not how are you feeling, what are you doing today, how was this class? Really, we work. We talk to adults like this. Talk to them like adults.
Yeah.
Because they're all going to be adults. So if we're going to give them that growth, don't be like you're just a kid and you don't get it. No, they get it.
Yeah.
If you're going to involve them in understanding financials and sports and all this stuff, they get these little conversations.
Yeah.
Have that conversation about what's happening in the globe and the world. Because right now what's happening, they're talking about it in school.
Yeah.
Their friends are talking about it. And don't avoid these conversations. So empower yourself to empower your children that 20 minutes every day. So start with that. Whether it's at the dinner table, I don't care what age group we're talking about, whether it's 5 to 7-year-olds, 7 to 9-year-olds, 14 and above. I had a really good friend who's a cardiologist. He's like, Z, how do I get them off the phone? Put it down. Create a little aura box. Put it in that box. It's during that 20 minutes every day you guys have.
Yeah. And what I'm hearing you say is it is consistency. It's about stepping up and just quietly leading that, no, we are going to do this. Yep. We did it yesterday. Yep. We're going to do it today. Yep. We're doing it tomorrow. Guess what? We're going to do it the day after that. And
conversation, Seema, just so you know. You may exactly. Not. Right. It'll come up. It'll come up. Now with the younger kids, start now.
Yeah.
You may have to take time with your 14-year-old and above, but it'll happen.
Well, and if you start now, Dr. Z, tell tell people, because a lot of times we justify ourselves to ourselves and we say, yeah, I'll do it when they're older. Right now they're only 2. Right now they're only 3. I can't get them to sit down. What would you say to that parent?
Okay, so here's the thing: there's products out there. Let's start teaching them about one another. Let's start reading books to them about other people. Let's start creating community change by not only talking about your own community and culture, let's talk about the other communities and culture. In KidZ has multitudes of product lines that are for 3-year-olds and 5-year-olds and 7-year-olds. Sit with your children, because we're not only trying to change their mind frame and glow, we want to change your mind frame. How do you get yourself to educate them? Because multitudes of us have not been educated in other communities, right? There's toys, there's crafts. If you're sitting and playing with your child to read ABCs and educate them in basic things, you can take that 7 to 8, 10 minutes to do an activity book with them about another community.
So you're saying, I'm thinking about practically, so you're saying we should give equal airtime to learning about Diwali, to learning about Kwanzaa, and learning about Nowruz or something else. Right. That's interesting. Yeah, because I know many people in sort of our demographic will read the Diwali books. We'll try to teach the kids about our culture, because I think there is a feeling that because we're in America, because we're not in India, we're removed and we may lose that connection to Diwali or Holi. So we'll take the time to emphasize that. But I think the cost is that we're de-emphasizing some of the other things.
So we all grew up where our parents were like, you have to be successful and you have to be, financially successful. The market we're looking at, let's talk about that. Let's talk the logic behind why we have to learn about. We are becoming a global nation. We're not becoming an America nation. We're not becoming an India nation. If you see today, India's top financial sector is in the IT, but they're all going globally. And they're acclimating themselves to those communities based off of that. Whether they're going to China, whether they're in our country here, our children are less globally knowledge than any community around the globe. Whether you're South Asian or you're Black or American, or you're Jewish American, or you're Chinese American, your children will learn about your community, but will be less knowledgeable than people from those communities that come to other countries. Because they're not globally knowledge. And we're like, you want to know international relations, you want to know, we should go to college for this. You're seeing less and less kids go to college because they want to be YouTubers. Where's the basis of educating about other communities as a YouTuber? I'm not saying that's a career that I don't know that. I don't know that career, but those global YouTubers, they're people. So let's work off of that. If you want to have successful children that are financially, emotionally, educationally secure, let's make sure they're not also racially discriminatory or making fun of other kids or creating bullying and trauma in school.
Yeah, and more accepting of our differences and recognizing how similar we are.
Yes, exactly.
That's
a great quote from your mom. I love it. Yeah. That's a great quote from your mom.
So good. Well, you are certainly building a kinder, more loving future, Z, and it's really cool to see how you're bringing that passion to life in so many different ways. It feels like you've just grown as a person, and going way back to something you said way at the beginning of the episode was you said something about how you started selling Diwali baskets, right? And what I took from that, my brain was saying, just start. Just start. Like, it may not be where you end up, but you took an initiative to do something, and you didn't necessarily know it would turn into anything. But you did the thing, right? You did the thing. You listened to the voice that said, go, go, go. And you did it. Huge applause for just starting.
Thank you. I'm still going. I'm still figuring it out, though. You guys, we're always learning as we're building something.
Always learning.
So.
Yeah. And you're such an inspiration, right? You're such an inspiration to so many people out there, and actually are in a position to make not only just an impact with kids, but a global impact, right?
Right. that's what we hope we can do, whether it's in our sports vertical or an education vertical or, through our toy line. We're just trying to see, and we're learning still every day how to create what we want to do. The toy industry is changing as well, so it's nice to see that they're following along with the market that we're building out there. So it's kind of true, to be part of boards now that normally you wouldn't see people like me on, is very nice. There's been an industry change of, the Mattels and Hasbros have always been there, right?
Yeah, right.
But they're like, okay, Dr. Z in Kids, let's talk, let's figure out how to make this change as well. So it's nice to see that, that they want to see more product lines out there like that, and they're accepting of it and willing to, with open arms. To be part of the Toy Association Board of the U.S. is a huge ordeal. I was honored to be nominated and voted in. This year, I was championed to nominate for 2 large awards within the toy industry. That means there's a recognition there of the work we're trying to do. South Asians are always like, oh, we're either doctors or lawyers, or nowadays it's actors, or nobody really wants to see a South Asian in the field of what I'm doing. Like, I don't think there's many of me out there who are not only trying to create a racial equity space for children, but also really try to create change in a multitude of spaces of education and the market of toys. It's different. Usually you see South Asians creating for South Asians or for South Asian products. And I haven't, I'm not saying I won't do that, but I think my mission is a little bit different, hence why.
And that's okay, right? Like, that's totally great. Like, love that it takes courage to step outside of that. And, everybody wants to look to their neighbor and go, oh, wait, she's right online. So that must mean that I'm not stepping out too far. But here you are doing the thing. And there are very few of you who are out there doing things in the way that you're doing. And, the other thing that I was kind of reflecting on as we were preparing for this episode was actually, let's tell the listeners, the whole impetus for why we had you on the show was, yes, we're friends. Yes, I've admired your work for years. Yes, I believe that, Dinesh and I both believe in the cause that you are championing. But what really got us going was, your line in Kohl's, right? And then right before that, was it the year before where you were in the Forbes, 100 to watch? And then before that, it was like my line in Nordstrom, and, all of these things. Like, you don't wake up this little Indian girl feeling like that you have no voice and feeling like you don't have any, how dare you? Like, the most exciting thing I'm going to do is go to medical school, right? Like, and here you are doing all of these amazing things that you would never have been able to dream of. But the reason for that was never, I need to get my toy line in Kohl's. It was never, I need to get voted. Yeah. It was the passion, right? It's the dedication to really, truly the belief that things can be better. Yeah. And they can be better in the way that, in the way that you're shaping the world to be. So we're championing you all the way. And just so excited about what is yet to come for you.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. You're going to make me cry. Honest to God, I'm like, that person who likes to hear things I do. I still have that, that's something I have to work on, but thank you. I do appreciate that. I do.
Yeah. If you had the chance, if that girl who's that power forward, whose coach just told that you're Z from now on, if she was listening to this podcast, what would you say to her? What's her biggest challenge, and what would you go back and say to her?
Believe in yourself. Believe in yourself, because something's going to come out of this. The story isn't the story you think it's supposed to be. The story is going to be something so much more different. And, I think that's what we tend to forget as people, is to believe in ourselves, because we're impactful.
So good. So good. I love it.
You just took me back to my my little girl who, you know, like not my daughter. I'm right now, listeners, you can't see this, but in front of me is my vision board. And every time I sit down to work, I have my mantra for the year, and I have pictures that empower me, and I have Lakshmi there in front of me. And my daughter left me a present on my desk last year, and it says that I have it up here. It says limitations only exist in them. And so Z, when you were up there just talking about trusting yourself, you know, you go back to that little girl who was told she was less because she is a girl who wants that, you know, and you go back to those moments where people ask you dumb things like, would your husband approve of that? You know, if you had, you know, or what would your dad say if he, like, what, all of these things, right? And so thank you for being vulnerable and stirring that emotion, because it's important.
You know, any leader out there or anybody who's in the workforce, I've been learning how to like kind of empower my team, you know, because we don't learn really how to do that. You know, we do it at time. And it came from like just what you just said, Seema. If you empower the individual in you, you're going to ignite the extraordinary in someone else. And that's something that I'm learning, because when my team sees me go, not in a bad way, but like in an empowering way, like in a mission driven way. This past toy fair that we were just at, like my team came back and they literally said to me, "We are so proud of you." I don't know how to take that in, but I know them being proud of me only wants them and us to succeed more. So now I'm igniting the extraordinary in them. And I don't think we have that normally, South Asians growing up.
Yeah.
We're only told to go, and create extraordinary things.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have to do it alone.
Yeah. Well, I think as South Asians, we are programmed or told to seek prestige and monetary gain, right? And the prestige and status is primarily for ourselves. It's not for an impact or for a community base, right? So I think that's where that doesn't manifest itself in what we're doing for most of us.
Yeah. I'm just 1,000% agreement with you in that. You know, I think that's the change I've actually had to make in my life. I say this a lot. A lot of that comes also from my husband, Rick, who just never believed in this at all. Comes from a very non-South Asian upbringing. He is South Asian, just so everyone knows, but that's his mentality. He's just like, I could give two craps what people think, and I will do what I want to do. That's the difference in us that has actually changed my mind frame also. You know, you have to also have people around you who can guide you, not even guide you, but inspire you in that direction. My husband was the same that I came from. I may not have been who I am today. I do have to say that, you know, empowering me to be me, empowering me to do what I have to do. And that's not a normal upbringing within South Asian communities of men and women, you know. I also come from a very diverse family, you know. I have a Black sister-in-law. I have like a German brother-in-law. I have, you know, my cousins are, you know, Latin kids, mixed kids. So we have a very, it was funny, we were all in Mexico for my mom's 75th, and all the cousins, not even all of them were there, but you see this family picture and it's like Black, brown, Mexican, white. It's like, you know, when I was growing up, that wasn't the norm. My parents weren't accepting of that.
Yeah.
You know, it's the change that's come now. So
absolutely. Your husband sounds amazing. He sounds like a terrific force. He's a terrific impact. I wonder, is there something that you would want to say to him through the podcast that might be difficult for you to say to him directly about the impact he's had on your life and
like
your work?
Throwing matches.
You know, we're in a very stressful point in the company, and you guys know, like we're in a and he's I so much about finances because I'm horrible at it, but he's brilliant at it. But even after all of that, he hasn't given up on my dream, and he knows that this dream, he doesn't admit it. He will never admit it. he knows this dream is going to take us, whether it's financially successful, whether it's mission-based success, he knows it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't have to say that to me. I know he believes in me. And the amount of work he's doing between his own company and my company and everything, I don't have enough gratitude to give him, because all my travel, all my work, and then helping with the kids and him being the greatest dad in the world. And, normally South Asian women are like, you handle home, house, life, everything, figure it all out. I don't have to be here to do all this. He is the most extraordinary father, husband, son, son-in-law across the board. And I can't have my dream come true without him beside me. He's not even beside me. He's like, I'm behind me. He's beside me. He's doing this with me. And there's a reason I call him Rock, because he is my rock. He's always been my rock since day one.
So
I love it. Rock, that's a shout out for you. And I hope you listen to this. Yeah.
Now it's recorded and everyone, it's out there.
I love it. I love it.
So good. So yeah, go ahead, Dean.
No, I was going to say, this has been a terrific episode. I think at the end of every episode, we have a little bit of a ritual for a wrap up. Everyone that comes on the expert or the show as a guest has done something amazing, just like so many of our listeners. And you're an expert in something, whether it's what we talked about or anything else. So teach us something. We'll give you a couple, a minute or 90 seconds. Teach us something that only you are an expert in.
I'm known as a child expert. I don't like calling myself the parenting expert. I don't like calling myself a life coach, or I can't teach parents how to parent. Every parent teaches parents differently. But I've been trained in the child's mind. What does the child feel? What is the child's emotions? What is the child, trying to say? But I can't do that unless I listen to a child. So if there's one thing I can teach you, is listen to your kids. Listen to the youth. Listen to them. Not just hear them. Listen to them.
How do we do that?
Well, one, let them talk. Don't interrupt. We as adults have a huge tendency to interrupt. We love chiming in on everything.
Yeah.
I don't care where you come from. We love to give our opinions, but we never want to hear anybody else's. Be quiet.
Yeah. And how would you say? Yeah. And how would you say, what would you say to the parent that's maybe subconsciously telling themselves, like, I'm the parent, I know it all, they're the kid who doesn't know? What would you say to them?
Giving them opportunity to listen to them, because you don't know what you don't know. I still don't know what I don't know. I'm learning every day. There's a place where we're going to guide our children. I'm not going to send my daughter out there to do things to create hurt for herself. But there's a place where when she's trying to tell me, Mom, listen to my opinion and let me explain to you. And then we have a conversation. That's what I'm doing. I'm bringing confidence in her. That her voice matters.
Yeah.
You don't want your child to be 30-something years old going in for an interview scared shitless because they can't speak their voice.
Yeah.
And then they're working with the boss who's hurting them, doing something to them, or making, as a woman, creating a space that's uncomfortable to them, and they don't have a voice. Again, we're raising adults.
Yeah, so good. Reminds me of, I don't know if you've read Malcolm Gladwell's book, The Outliers. In it...
No, I've seen it, though, and I've been meaning to get my hands on something. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great book. I've read it a long time ago, and I may not be remembering it accurately, but he talks about parents that allowed their kids to speak to the pediatrician in the exam room, right? Like the pediatrician would speak to the kid and the kid would speak back, as opposed to the parent answering all the questions, directly correlated to their success later in life because of that responsibility and that confidence that came from that interaction in dealing with authority figures at that point.
I've done that since day one. Since my children were allowed to tell them how they're feeling, Like, what are you feeling?
Yeah. Amazing.
Amazing.
All right. That was a great lesson. Thank you so much.
Invaluable.
Invaluable. Seema, you want to take the next one?
I'll take the next one. So, Dr. Z, at the end of the show, we have this tradition of asking a question forward. So basically, the last guest, without knowing who you are, what we're going to talk about, any of that, no clue, has left you a question for you to answer. Okay. So the question is there a habit around sleep or physical health or nutrition that you're all about right now?
You want my real?
I love it. When he asked,
boy,
we want all the answers.
I know.
Place right now, so I have been doing too much wine, and Seema knows this. When I go into my phases of drinking wine at night, I don't get good sleep. I get a horrible sleep because I get up at the crack of dawn. I'm up at 5:30 and I work out at 7, and I know my body, and I'm just in a bad place, and I'm really good about not drinking after 8 if I'm out or whatever, I've actually avoided, trying to not publicly drink anymore and stuff like that. But what I used to do, which I loved, was take a shower, wash my face or whatever, do my night routine, brush my teeth, have a cup of tea with me, or drink tea with the kids while they're reading their books. And then when I get into bed, really sit down and just quiet my mind and go to sleep. Really, I'm so tired that I'm like scrolling YouTube, watching social media. I want to laugh.
Yeah.
I want to empty my mind. I want to watch funny things.
Yeah.
Lately, I've been watching this comedian. She's a South Asian comedian from England. Her name starts with an S. She's South Indian. She's married to a German guy. I forget her name, but it's like Siri something. So married and all this stuff, and I'm cracking up laughing. And then I get requests, and he's like, "Oh my God, that's so true." I want to detox from the day, and I think that's what I'm trying to do. But then there's nights where I'm just like, okay, how do I detox and just let go of the world? Just shed all the trauma, all the yuckiness that I felt today, that I put out there, and bring in all the goodness. And so I think it's a multitude of things that I have to do, because every day is different.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite practice for our meditation practice for quieting your mind?
I've gotten to a place now where I just shut everything down. I have now learned for 5 minutes, I set my timer, and I just let my mind wander where it needs to, and it shuts down by itself. I've come to that place now. That's my best one. But if I'm not there, I will put on a meditation from Instatimer, from Calm, just to kind of navigate me to that place. What am I feeling? Is it something I want to ground myself for today? Is there something happening with the eclipses? I am also a big believer in astrology and my rocks and my stones.
Yeah.
I've turned them all around. Like, you carry 2 pounds of rocks with you to Mexico? And I'm like, yeah. Well, she was like, oh my God, we have. But I am a very big believer. And so it gives me calmness to carry my stones, hold my stones. I am the girl, you will find them in her jean pocket. They'll be in places that everyone's like, oh my God, you have a rock there. Like, I do.
That's amazing.
So I think calming my mind for me has now come to a place that I have to just 5 minutes, just shut down.
Yeah.
But if I don't have that existence, then I will use some sort of vehicle to help me do that.
So thank you for sharing. And I wanted to know then, I guess Dinesh and I both wanted to know, we don't know who's coming on next. I mean, we know, but you don't know. What's your question?
What would you ask our next guest?
What would you ask?
At this time in your life, if you could change your career or deviate to something to create social impact for the world or the next generation, and hold on to what you're doing, what would you see yourself doing? I have no idea who your person is, but I think this has come from the place I work in.
Yeah.
Has a place to make some sort of change for the world. and what's that one thing you can make change? You guys can deviate the question how you want, but
Yeah.
we all have some place of doing something small, big, or whatever. What would be that one thing you could do to create change to the world?
I think I got it. Let me repeat it. At this time in your life, if you could change your career or deviate something to create social impact for the world or the next generation and hold on to what you're doing, what would you do? Did I get it?
Yep, that's it.
Okay.
That's a great question.
That's a very
I'm
good
excited to see who's.
I'm dying to know who is your next.
You're going to have to tune in.
Yeah. And even if we schedule it, sometimes schedules get thrown off and the next guest doesn't show up, or we have to reschedule and then it bumps. So we really don't know who was going to get this question. And
Actually, that's true.
yeah, when we asked, and by the way, your question came from our last guest, who was the first attorney on the show, Horam Naik, and we recorded that last week, last
week.
Wednesday, I believe. So yeah, it was a great episode, and he left that question for you, not knowing who you were or will be.
Wow.
So it's a fun little tradition we play.
Yeah,
yes, I like it.
Z, we also love giving back at the Happy and Human podcast. I know your work pretty much in and of itself is one giant, charitable contribution. But is there a specific organization that you would like to have the podcast support? Give a small donation to support their cause.
So many.
Podcast does not have sponsors. We're not monetized, right. So we just need one organization.
Well, and I know she probably has so many people. Selena Gomez has Inspiring Children. So Inspiring Children Foundation. It's in Las Vegas. It's transforming lives through whole human approach for physical, emotional, and mental health for kids.
Ooh, so
they're our charity. I don't think it's Selena's actually. I think it's their. I think she's done work with them. But they're an amazing organization. I've been following them for a bit. I don't know them, just so you know. I've just been following them, but I love how the work they're doing is what we're trying to do also, is really creating change in every aspect for a child,
That's
I love it. Yeah, and that's the whole reason we have this this question, is to highlight various causes that are important and make sure that the podcast is making the impact that we all set out for it to do.
Yeah,
that's great.
Absolutely. Dr. Z, so where can our audience find you? What's coming up for you? What are you excited about? But really, where can they find you? Because there's going to be a lot of amazing things coming from you.
Yeah. So our social platforms are Dr. Z _MD. And then In KidZ is at In KidZ, INKIDZ. And our website has resources, which is www.inkidz.co. We are in Kohl's. We've launched, I think, in Macy's Toys R Us a couple days ago. We're on all the .coms, so we're on Target.com, Macy's.com, Nordstrom.com, Maisonette.com, and Kohl's.com. And we launched our pre-sale for our first Sesame Street product line, which is their multicultural cooking kit. And yeah, we're going to be, this Q4 you'll see more of us, getting our second generation of our In KidZ kits out there. And then next show, you'll see our MESS line come out, which is our mental, emotional, social health line.
I love it. Exciting. And you can buy the Bond Band in Target, right?
You can buy it anywhere, actually. Yeah. You can buy it at Nordstrom, you can buy it at Target. And it's a great stocking stuffer, everybody. Buy two so they can exchange it with somebody else.
I think I'm going to go out and get them. I think our kids would enjoy it. And I'll send you a picture when we get them.
I would love that. I would love that. Yeah. No, we're just follow us on social and help support. And, really that's how we can get the word out more. That's what we want to do.
We love that. Dr. Z, thank you. It's always fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We really enjoyed having you, and we really want to support you in everything that you're doing, because it's absolutely impactful and world changing and life changing. Mover and shaker, Dr. Z, everyone.
Mover and shaker, DrZ.com.
Yeah. listeners, as you can tell, as the show goes on, the guests get bigger, and we couldn't do that without your support. So please like and rate and review the podcast wherever you listen to it, subscribe on YouTube, and we look forward to bringing you more amazing guests and episodes and all the wonderful things as we get to the end of 2023 and look to 2024.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much. Stay well.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.